Welcome to AFTERBUZZ's Genius. Tonight we say death to illusions. Hello to Fernand and, farewell to Dora maybe. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hi, Genius fans. Welcome back. We got a full crew here. Yes. Hello, panel. How are we today?
We are good.
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Yes.
Let the folks know who you guys are.
Hey, I'm Mina.
Hi, I'm Zach Silverman.
I'm Joelle Monique, and as every week we're going to be delving into the life of Pablo Picasso. This week, 1905 and 1944, both in Paris. Very different Parises, very different Picassos. Falling in love, out of love, ruining love. It's very messy. What did you guys think about this episode? We were talking a little bit before we began last week. Very action-packed, a lot of things happening, kind of crazy. This week, a little less so. I mean, we have the death of Max, which is pretty sad. We meet Apollinaire, who's really cool. We get a first love Picasso, which is very interesting. I never thought he would ever be this whipped. And also, we get some issues with Dora. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we get to see Picasso in different contexts and how he loves and how that love and soft side of his has kind of changed throughout the course of his life. Like, we see a much softer Picasso in his early life.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Who really, loves love and, feels it with intensity. And then we see it transition into more, power.
How would you phrase it, Zach?
Like a Pokemon.
What? This is the evolutions
It's the
of Picasso.
evolution of Picasso. Seriously. Okay. But it's I don't know. I caught in one of the commercials there was a behind the scenes kind of thing of I guess how Antonio Banderas and the actor named Alex both watched each other for nuances, and there's little things in the way Alex speaks that resonates with how Antonio Banderas is, and it's just so interesting to see young love with Alex and old love with Picasso, but the old love, it's the jaded side, but then this is the young bohemian side of love, and it's an evolution of how Picasso became who he is and what he does.
It's interesting because as we see those comparisons, I feel like when we see him with Fernand, it's kind of an old love, the kind of, I just want to make sure you have a clean house, and are you comfortable, and what do you need?
It's
and
his idea of what love should be.
But it's also an ideal first love, so you're willing to do anything and everything for your first love.
My point being that the second time, with the second love with Dora and even with Francois, it's so much about himself. It's such a selfish kind of love.
We still haven't seen his wife, where he bared a child. Shouldn't that be the second love? Maybe you would think, right? I mean, we saw 2 episodes worth of the child, the daughter.
Mary Therese.
Yeah.
This is his wife. He left that girl behind a long time ago.
Yeah, he did.
But let's just hop into 1905 and Apollinaire, who is an incredible human being. I don't want to give away too much of what we might get into.
He's a new poet.
Later.
Let's just say he's a bohemian poet that's added to the crew. Sure.
He's a surrealist.
Yes, bank teller.
History considers him the founder of surrealism, the godfather of surrealism. And he also, I'll give you a little bit of hint for the future, coins the term cubism. So he's obviously going to have a very large impact, not just on the art scene, but on Picasso. What were your first impressions of Apollinaire?
I mean, we got to see him in the bank, and it took me off guard because I didn't realize the juxtaposition of this man just flipping papers and stuff, and then you see him this bourgeois kind of guy standing on a table speaking from a notebook, and it was just so different, and I was like, oh, that's the same person. Cool. What are we getting out of this? And we later find out they were drinking absinthe.
Yeah.
The green, what do they call it?
Lots of drug use in here.
Oh my God, so much drug use. I think I wrote something down about the debauchery that gives inspiration to Picasso and I guess to these poets as well. It's so interesting to see the fuel behind these things.
Well, as we're talking about love, we know that some of the first stuff that Picasso painted was either to impress his father, for his family, to remember his little sister. And I like that at the end of this episode, skipping ahead just a little bit, we see him trying to paint the truth, right? He keeps going on and on about I want to see the world through eyes that are not a copy, but I also want to get to the truth of these harlequins and what's going on. And even
he said it's a new century, everything is changing, and so should art.
Yeah,
which is
because we
great.
have photographs already to tell us what people look like, so we don't need that anymore. So he's trying to look at a new branch of art. What did you guys think of the Harlequin painting?
Well, we got an evolution of it, which is awesome. We see the actual. I just love how they take concepts of art that is popular in life, and they kind of tell the story behind it. We had that in like episode 2, I think, with the dance or whatever it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and now we have this where we see the Harlequins, and who would have thought? I mean, maybe it's a true story, maybe it's not. He's just walking down the streets of Paris, a little high, and he sees this like little circus, and this is where he gets the idea for it. It's beautiful, but he has the picture of it where it's just a simple sketch. And then it goes on to like a mid-sized painting where you could see more of the form of like a I've seen it in history, in art classes and stuff. And then the giant painting of it, I was just like, oh, that's right. I know what this painting is. It's awesome to see where it stems from.
And to see the scale and the brushstroke is really kind of impressive.
Yeah, and it's breathtaking, really, is what it is, to like see what he's seeing out of it, and to pair it with, and what's his name? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Apollinaire?
Apollinaire, thank you. To see his evolution, because he, before the painting was even done, wrote up on it, and then when it was finally done, like his whole diatribe on it, it's I believe that I would not see why that wouldn't be from like actual history.
Totally. It was a great poem. It was great to see the painting. I think what the show Genius does so well is, as we saw in season 1, like, I was nervous. I was like, I'm not a mathematician. I'll be able to keep up. Like, National Geographic, it's history. But they made math come to life in a way that always felt very simple to understand until I walked away and had to explain it. I was like, you gotta listen to him tell it. Jeffrey Rush knows what he's doing. In the same way that I feel like they made paintings come to life in this season, and it's really impressive. Also impressive, Max. I really like Max. I like TK Knight is an incredible actor, and so to see him doing something where you're not instantly like, TK, what's up? It's really cool. I think he's doing a great job. But this kid is really fooling himself if he thinks he's not gay. He's not really in this episode so much. I mean, he's there, but it's more about Apollinaire and Picasso. But it's kind of interesting because I feel like we find later in further in history, when Max gets arrested by the Gestapo, that he was like a voice of the generation still. Like, I kind of was looking at Max in the beginning, not knowing who he was, and being like, he's just gonna fade away, like being a friend of Picasso. And here's Apollinaire, who that's a poet. Like, he has presence, and he's speaking and saying all these things. And here's Max, who's just like, my poem is at the bottom right there, this little like bottle, But I'm glad he moves on to do something with himself. Was Apollinaire's quit the best quit of all time, Mina? Would you ever exit a job the way Apollinaire did?
I mean, why not? Like, he's more of a passionate person that just his heart is on his sleeve, and he's exactly what you were saying, like, completely different from Max's character. So if he does something, the whole world is gonna know about it. It's not just gonna be like that one person. It's gonna be a complete show. He's like the original spoken word. What was the
last line that he's? I am the monster, or something like that. That was powerful.
A man who drinks blood from humans and enjoys it, or something. It was wild. His poetry is nuts. I was reading some of it in between commercial breaks, and it's really fun. And the way it reads is not. His stanzas tend to be a little bit longer, but with short clipped sentences. So when you're reading it, it feels impactful. I like short, punchy kind of things. But you should definitely check out Apollinaire's work if you haven't.
I love how it's like we see. When I was watching this episode, you got the forceful empowerment of like the older generation, and you have like this. You think maybe he's married. He's like, I have other things to attend to. I have to go home to. Yeah, he's coming home to his mother.
So sad.
And his mom just reams into him about being this artist. And I mean, we were around for the turn of the century of 2000. I feel like something like this similar kind of happened with art and everything and breaking out. But I don't know, my parents are really supportive of things, in life. I can't imagine living a life where it's like, no, fall in line. You will be a lawyer. Like, you'll be a bank teller. All these things, these characters that we're seeing, where, like, no wonder such masterpieces came about. They had people telling the complete opposite of what to do and fall in line. And you have Picasso and, what's his love name? The younger
Francois.
and then Apollinaire. All these people. It's
Yeah, the turn of the century is a really interesting time for art. If you look at, it's a time when women are first exploring what is it like to just walk around the street without an escort, like I just be a person. Really dope. You've got artists who again are like, I want to explore what I see in my head versus what's actually here on planet Earth. And it's cool to explore it through here. I find we're getting a lot of Nazi intersection in Genius. Perhaps it's just because of our first two subjects.
Hey, I think the theme of Genius is going to fall into like that time period. It can't go too far back because it has to be relatable. Like World War II is relatable to me, but not World War One.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's going to fall.
World War One very relatable.
Well, it's very relatable, but like my grandfather fought in World War II, whereas like
so you're more connected to World War II.
More connected to it.
Sure.
Where like I feel like the point of Genius is to kind of it's national. Nat Geo's first scripted television. They're going to want to keep people enthralled and in line. Not in line, but you know.
Yeah, it needs to be. Yeah, it can't be so far removed where you can't understand it. That it's way back in history. Like this is something that's only a couple generations.
Well,
back.
you need multiple verifiable subjects because it's very historically accurate, or as historically accurate as you can possibly be in a fictional retelling of something.
Some of these people were still like alive like 20 years ago.
Totally, absolutely.
You know, Dora died in 1997, so there's probably a lot of interviews and a lot of like conversations that like the dinner table with that gentleman caller, I guess we could just call him, probably happened.
Yeah.
You know, it probably was like a little fu to Picasso.
God, that dinner was great. We're gonna get there. Let's wrap up with 1905 really quick.
By having a little fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We can wrap it up by having a little fun by learning to grow in all areas of your life. For those of you, for those who do, we've got a podcast for you. Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition, is hosted by our AFTERBUZZ TV founder and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of life. It ranges from health and wealth to career, relationships, finances, and more. Let our Maria be the big sister that you've always wanted. Just go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. Be sure to rate and comment, and when you do, let Maria know that it was us that sent you there. Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition. Check it out.
Super good. Love Maria. Super supportive.
She's amazing.
And her information, you can take it to the bank.
Yes.
What Picasso could not take to the bank was 300 francs. That was the most brutal deal ever.
700 to 500 to 300.
Man, what a kick in the shins
You know
that
what?
was.
Yeah,
You
that
know
was
what?
very upsetting. I was like,
I wasn't
Picasso
upset.
does not know how to negotiate.
That's
like,
not
why
negotiating.
is he settling? Why is he settling?
No. This was not settling.
Go for it.
Go for that. Good for that man, for that art dealer. He's like an art dealer,
what
right?
a jerk.
What a jerk. First off, he lent him money so that he could paint those things, and he's asking for 700 for a piece of all paintings. He's like, I'll give you 700 for all three. I'm like, okay, that's a fair deal. You also got like, you wouldn't have painted it without him, you know? And then he's pretty much said F you and walked off. Would you give money to somebody who walked in afterwards and said, you know what? I kind of do need the money. Well, you take it anyway. I'd be like, hey, 500.
Look,
And he did it the second time. The second time.
It was a really good business deal for that guy. I totally agree with your statement. Like, look, he lent you money so you could do the paintings in the first place. So somewhere in there, you need to be able to pay him back. I think it would have been much smarter for Picasso to come in and be like, here's the price of my paintings. We'll take off what I owe you for the paintings from the paints from last time I saw you. Here's our final deal. I feel like the guy would have been much more amendable to that. Maybe he was a little pompous, but what a kick in the shins. You know 3 paintings are worth way more. You got 100 francs each. You could probably sell each of them for 500 minimum.
Hey, look, he was going to him for a reason. I mean, maybe he's like on his last leg of who he could go to sell. He's probably burned a lot of bridges.
No, it's totally true. But he does it for a good cause. He wants the $300. He can get his opium for his girl so she can relax and kick it for a bit.
Which, by the way, he just 2 episodes ago or an episode ago was just like, or with the ether. He's like, oh no, I lost a friend to opium. I'm not going to do that. He's like, no, it's ether.
Remember really different. I do remember that.
So now why is he doing opium all of a sudden?
It's a girl. And it's different now. Emotions. Love is in the air.
First love, that's all it is.
It's
you
true.
know what's really pretty about this though? We don't have love like this anymore.
Don't we?
No one to kick it with and smoke opium?
No, I mean, who's gonna come smoke opium? No, I mean, love in a sense where it's unrequited. Like, he saw her drop a scarf and saw, like, the sadness in her eyes, and it's like, there's something there. I love you. And, like, he doesn't know anything about her, just that she's her neighbor, his neighbor, and he's like, I love you. Like, just so sure of it. I love you. Move in with me. Just like, it's
I feel
simple.
like we
Simple
do,
times
but
for
it
simple
happens
love.
on Instagram, and it's more creepy.
I know. I was thinking that. It comes in the form of sliding into
The
DMs.
exactly.
Or
And
creating
sometimes it
artwork
works.
on Instagram and
Yeah,
tagging the person
you know,
in
people
it.
get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's this whole song and dance. It's like, this is like more pure where...
We don't have a 1905 Paris, France, Cobble Street backslide to it.
If I had a cobble street, let me tell you. Any woman walking down that would be
Zach's
like...
gonna be putting the love down on the ladies. Just yeah. But it works. She likes
does.
it.
She does.
She likes her little shrine, even though she was at first like, "Don't pay me. I get paid for this." Which, stand up for yourself. Know your worth, sister. I appreciated that. But she does. She leaves her abusive live-in boyfriend, and she moves in with Picasso. And he says things are gonna be great. Our
finished his
good
painting.
friend. He did finish his painting, but decided to take it back. We'll get to Matisse in a second.
Yeah.
Our good friend, where is your name?
Max, Apollo, John, the butler.
His manservant.
The butler.
I wrote his name
Vince
down.
or something?
Jaime
Jaime?
Sabarates. Something.
Yeah, try
Jaime.
and say that twice. 3 times.
I won't. I'll
No.
just say Jaime.
Cool. Jaime.
Jaime has warned us that it doesn't work out. In the future, he tells us, I don't need to know the future to know that your love with Francois is not going to work out. Based off that, we can assume the stuff with Dora is not working out. I'm married to Reese, as you mentioned before. We haven't seen in a long time. And Fernand is not in the picture, so clearly it does not work out. We'll have to see where it goes. Let's get into Matisse to transition to Paris. Matisse, 1944. Sorry. Matisse is amazing. Looking at his artwork, I was like, I
Wait,
would also not want to show my Harlequin painting.
Are
because...
we... You mean 1905, not 1944.
Yeah, I would take Matisse into 1944, though, because I think a lot of what we were seeing with that jealousy and that desire to continue to paint, like we haven't seen... Picasso thinks all of his work is great. So far. Everything we've seen of him has been like, I'm so good. Oh, my God. Or it's missing something.
Yeah.
Let me try to get it back. Or I was painting really good then, and it's not living up to that, but I know I can get back there. This is the first time where he was like, no.
Yeah.
No, I will not show this. Look, there's a genius out here, and I gotta match that guy. And I think it plays a lot into why he is so convinced of his genius in 44, as Jaime was telling us. Like, look, for 50 years, this guy's been able to do whatever the hell he wants. It starts here.
Yeah.
So.
50 years. Oh, I didn't even put that 2 and 2 together.
I'm here for you, buddy.
That is... yeah.
So, what do you guys think is happening with this rivalry between Matisse? He hasn't even met Matisse yet.
I don't know, but I'm loving it because we had Matisse. This is the first time we see Matisse. No, they've talked
in the
about him
other
before,
episode,
right?
We talked about it, but we haven't seen
comes
his
in
face.
and says, like, compliments his painting, and then he's like, that's a Matisse. So, like, there's always, like, this underlying jealousy going on
I
there.
think
and
it's great.
competition.
It's the rivalry that, like, every... like, the first season of Genius was Albert Einstein, and then there was all these other geniuses that he rivaled, and it could have easily been, like, that person's show, and we could have gotten a little glimpse of Albert. But, like, that's this season where it's just like, we chose Pablo Picasso, and we're getting a little bit of Matisse, but it could have easily been reversed.
Surely.
You know? And I'm sure Matisse is, like, shaking in his boots, like, looking at Pablo and be like, who is this Spaniard? And, like, I don't know. I've always heard Matisse, never looked at his work, but seeing the 2 photos, or paintings, they quoted it perfectly. He's bent all the rules, and I want to smash them. Which is fuel for Picasso to, I think, why he became such a great artist, because he, had someone that was, like, outshining him in his own eyes, though.
Totally.
I feel like the world looked at both of them and was like, these people are, like, revolutionary for our time.
Well, it seems because at the time, when he's at the shop trying to sell his work, he's like, Matisse gets 700 painting. He's like, yeah, that guy's a genius.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are, little Pablo Picasso from Spain, but you're not Matisse yet. So I feel like
And you know what's...
long haul look at history, totally the same, but in this 1 year, like, there's a clear difference.
But you know what's interesting? If you caught a glimpse of, like, they unraveled his paintings, it was paintings of the old, which is weird because he's going to... Well, it's not too weird. He's going to this old pompous guy. You would think that's what he would want also, but he referenced Matisse, and it's like, he's a genius. And then we get to see a Matisse, and it's just like... I always thought history of art was interesting because there was this point of surrealism of, like, painting, like, so to the point where we didn't have photos, but then, like, I guess when photos came around, it flipped. And people are like, screw that. I'm going to paint what I see in my head. And Matisse, purple skies or purple people, and, like, they were naked, and it was just, like, dots, and it was just, that painting was so real. Like, he said it was like, I'm in his dream. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just saying it's beautiful.
Again, because they bring the art to life. Like, art doesn't have to have a meaning or an end, but you felt that painting, and I think... As a person who's looked at a lot of art just online, a lot of museums have really great high-res copies of the artwork they own on their websites, but it doesn't quite amount to what we saw tonight.
Do you think that was the real Matisse? Do you think it was donated?
Man, that's a good question.
That'd be awesome. And I feel
it would be awesome. I feel like the show has the gravitas to do that.
I feel like, what was it, Sam and Sarah who came on last season? I feel like they would totally do something good like that.
Totally.
That'd be awesome.
We saw Matisse's Woman with the Hat, which was the one where the girl kind of looking over her shoulder, and it was like all the purple and the colors. It's great. I'm looking forward to the reveal of the person Matisse. I think it's going to be really interesting to see their first interaction with one another. Hopefully, we do actually get to go to the Autumn Salon. Let's move very quickly into 1944. Max is taken by Nazis. The Gestapo has the nerve to come into a church.
Oh, yeah, they were glooming, like, in that black leather and everything. I was like, this isn't going to end well.
Was it upsetting to anyone else the fact that the parishioners just left?
Everyone just left, yeah. Even
walked right past Max and didn't say anything. The priest, yeah. It was brutal. Of course, he's taken and he dies. Never makes it to a camp, thank goodness.
I don't understand why he was in a hospital. Like, I thought it was towards the end of the war, so wouldn't they have just thrown him in a camp? Like, I feel like they were, like, really starting to ramp up, like, killing people at that point.
The exterminations were in full effect toward the end of the war, but they were waiting for a ruling, I believe, is what was happening.
Yeah, but...
Because the guy comes in and interferes, and he's like, hey, look, we got to take a second to figure out what we're going to do with this guy. He's a Catholic. Of course, Vaughn is the guy who was talking to in the Nazi office. John is the guy who was speaking on behalf of Max.
Yes.
Vaughn is the man who was basically telling him, like, that's gibberish, he's Jewish, don't say that again.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. Because you would think if the issue, I don't know, it doesn't have to make sense because it's hate, but it seems to me that if the issue was, like, you don't believe in our ways, I know there's also, like, a bunch of things about genetics and stupid BS,
stuff.
But it seems crazy to me that you would want to turn somebody away who is like, I renounce my Judaism and I embrace Catholicism and I have God.
I think the fact that, like, because he even said, he's like, I'm not a Philistine. Like, I've read his work and I think he said he didn't understand or he didn't like it, but he appreciated it.
Yeah, he said he was moved by it. They had power.
It had power, yeah, which is like, cool. So you're going to tag him for 2 of 3 things, but, like, he technically wasn't a Jew anymore. Like, never really came out gay, and he's like kind of a voice of Paris, and like you're still gonna just throw him away, which is like, why? Come on.
And not doing anything, like not out in the streets
No,
protesting, just living a quiet life,
chilling,
at a monastery. The Nazis are terrible. We knew that, but just consistently awful human beings.
How did you feel about Picasso? Went the signing
at the funeral?
No,
or just signing. Okay, so first,
signing.
Okay, so
we'll sign in with.
I don't know. Okay, so here's my
cowardly, but at the same time, I'm like, we might not have had a Pablo if he was going to be such a stubborn, let me give it to the man kind of thing.
So my question after that scene was
right.
he being honest in that if I go again, like, I could make it worse for him?
Oh, I absolutely thought he would have made it worse. If he signed that, Max would have gone to the concentration camps. 100%.
Hard thing. I don't want my friend dying thinking I didn't support them, and I also would want to do everything in my power to support them, but also I have to know, like, how my voice carries, and at the time his voice was pretty toxic.
He was on thin ice.
Wow, it's nuts. The funeral, though. Morally, I'm sort of with Dora. Morally, I'm with Dora, but at the same time, I hate funerals, dude.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that putting a person in the ground and saying goodbye in that way is me saying goodbye to them, you know?
If they didn't have the line of him saying, I want to remember him for him when he was alive, not dead. That line wasn't there, I would have thought he was a pompous, selfish asshole.
Well,
but, like, you know, it
harks right back to Carles from
everyone expresses grief in a different way, so
Truly.
you can't really.
Yeah, but the way he expressed grief was just like, oh, I'm going to look at him and see myself in the box. Like, it's not about you. It's about your friend who just died.
It's really not. Death is about not the person who died or the individual experiencing it, but the community who is lost. I firmly believe that. So we have a whole bunch of people here mourning who came to you believing that, hey, we know you're his friend. We know you tried to help him throughout. Like, let's mourn this loss together. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I think what we learned about Carles from 2 episodes ago, where he stopped painting and then all he painted was death, and it totally, like, death does have a powerful impact on Picasso, clearly. So it might still be an asshole thing to do. Maybe you need to get over yourself and face whatever. You're constantly telling people to face their fears and to just jump and do it all the time. Everybody else. But when it comes to you, you were like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so weird because I feel like people in life start out as narcissists and think about themselves. Like when you're a child, you're very egocentric and it's all about you.
Good point.
And then as you grow up, you start to realize like other people have feelings and other people have their own unique experiences. But with Picasso, it almost seems like the way they're portraying his personality is reversed, where he starts out being a very empathetic person when he's a child and even in his early adulthood, and then later transitions into this like egocentric, narcissistic personality where he does make things about himself and his own personal suffering.
That's a perfect place to transition into Dora and the madness that's happening inside of her. Poor Dora. Look, so Dora is perpetually lying. She is backsliding. She's drinking a lot more. She's drunk in the middle of the day, but she's still putting on art shows. She's still trying to engage. And she's still very much in love with Picasso. He proposes this polyamorous. If you're going to be poly, everyone has to know and agree to it, okay? You cannot just begin polyamorous relationships like, my old girlfriend's totally fine with you. She's cool. She's advanced. Like, why would you even worry? Sit down to dinner. It'll be great. How do you guys think about Dora? What do you think about Dora's deterioration through this time? And is that her? Is she going insane, or is it her circumstances and she's not getting the kind of help that she needs?
I think Ferdinand said it right. You think she's such a free spirit, free thinker, that she's okay with this, but she's really not. And she's like, I'm going to take care of myself, but I hope
That's
you take
Francois,
care of
sorry.
her. Francois.
I said I was going to do the same thing. The names are so close.
Who did I say?
Ferdinand, who's the first
Francois,
girlfriend.
thank you. Yeah. And she's like, I hope you take care of Francois.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Dora.
Dora.
There's a lot of names, guys. We gotta know. You know what we're saying. So yeah, which I thought was very mature of her.
Yes.
He calls her a child, and I'm like, sir, really?
And I was like, it was the most childish thing he could have said because he's sitting there and pouting like a child.
Takes a cigarette.
Calling it. He's like, yes! so upset. Like everything about the way he's acting, it's like he's throwing a little tantrum because he can't get what he wants.
I really wanted Francois to just throw him a side eye and be like, me childish in this moment. I'm telling you to take care of this woman who loves you. Who the only place she could think to go was come back to you. I mean, she's bashing her head into mirrors. She's walking around at night, like disassociating with reality. Like, it's not good for anyone.
Well,
what
she
are
is a
you doing?
surrealist painter, so maybe it helps her with her artwork.
Oh, please.
We gotta stop putting pain. Artists don't need to experience pain to create great art. That is such a fallacy that we've created throughout history and time, and say if you're not hurting, then you're not making good stuff. I think sometimes really great things happen to come out of pain, but I think when we look to pain to be the motivator, we get people who die so early and are constantly just hurting. And I don't think that your life should be just pain in order to be a good artist. Picasso clearly didn't need to experience a lot of pain to become a great artist. Like he took some of his tragedies and made great work, but for the most part, he lived a life that was very much in the way that he wanted to do it. So poor Dora's not doing good. I wanted to applaud Francois for bringing Andre, because what a baller move. What did you guys think when she showed up with another dude?
I don't know. I don't like the concept of bringing someone else and using someone to make another
Andre
person
didn't like it
jealous.
either.
I
He
think it's
caught
so
on
selfish.
real quick.
I didn't like that. And it was very un-Francois-like.
It was rude as hell.
But she was playing this game.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think Genevieve was right. She was like, look, you need to get some control here. You're falling very quickly, which could lead to a lot of spiraling. You're not on even territory with him. You need to show him that, you're young and could get it literally from anywhere. Like, you're beautiful, you're talented, go do it. But poor Andre did not.
Picasso kind of
deserve
liked
that.
it a little bit
Of
too.
Of course he did.
Like he's like, oh, you little devil. Like he liked that she's playing the game, even though it frustrates him, but it makes her more of a challenge.
Of course.
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked, they give us a little callback before the episode started where he tells Dora, there's a painter inside of you. And this idea that he's always looking for a great artist to partner with is really interesting. He kind of made Dora a painter, but Francois came to him a painter. And I think that's part of his interest in her as well. Let's get into some brief predictions based off of what we saw for next week. We're gonna hear, there it is. Look at that sound.
Now, your
Is
AfterBuzz
this like white and
TV.
yellow in here?
Yeah,
It's like the Batcave.
Different.
I
How
like
about
this.
purple and red?
Thank you, sir.
Picasso.
Picasso would make a great Batman. So next week, what do we think is gonna happen?
I think he's gonna shave his head.
Okay, yeah, definitely I'm here for that.
No, I feel like we're gonna transition next into the
The next phase,
of the older Picasso.
the
'cause
next evolution for
The
Pokemon.
war is over, so I don't really see them sitting in that era so much longer.
Fair.
I don't really know what time frame that is when he shaves his head and whatnot, but I think we're going to see an
I believe
end.
that's mid 50s to late 60s.
Cool. So then I think we're going to phase out what's her face with for Francois. Yeah, I think it's like the last of her where she's just like, I can't do this anymore, and we'll see whatever reason why he shaves his head and a new phase of Picasso.
I think we're actually going to see a little bit more of Francois just because she was one of his great loves. So I
really?
think
He has
I don't
8.
really know so much of the history of him, so I was just kind
She
of
did a
thinking,
nice rundown of the history of his great loves last week.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
so,
what we
because that's
so
what-
because she was like considered one of his great loves,
Okay,
I think
so maybe
they're-
she'll have more episodes.
yeah,
Okay,
they're gonna
cool.
have like more of a backstory with her.
I like her, so
I-
I'm glad that maybe you're right. I was just
Yeah.
kind of going out of left field on that one. So.
I like it.
But I also think that they're gonna show exactly what went wrong with the whole Fernand's situation. How do you say her name? Fernand.
Fernand, yeah.
Fernand situation
1905 lady,
and how
yeah.
it ended because that was his first real love. And I think we're gonna transition into the demise of Dora, like the official end of the Dora period.
Dora's around for a while. She's around until the 90s, so she lasts longer than
but the
Picasso. So the end of that relationship.
The relationship.
It'll be
is
interesting
gonna-
to see. I know she continues to create art up until her death. So I'm hoping that maybe we do get a little break from her because I think she could use a break from Picasso. I do not think he's healthy for her mental life. But it would be interesting to see her come later around, hopefully healthier. I'm not an expert on Dora's life, so I don't know what that cycle looks like. I think we're going to get into Cubism finally next week. We've been talking about Cubism for so long. We're very much looking forward to that era. If we do get a shaved head, that means we're getting into a sculpture period for Picasso. One of my favorite sculptures hangs outside of the Chicago
Art Institute.
Trade Center. There's one at the Art Institute, but
okay.
there's also one outside of the trade markets. It's big and bronze, and it's a lion, and it's very, very cool. I think it's 60 feet tall. A huge statue. So I know I'm very familiar with a lot of his sculpture work because a lot of it is in Chicago. So hopefully we get to see some new art phases. I would love to see Banderas with a shaved head, and why that when we cut our hair, it's usually tends to be very symbolic or a time of change. The end of the war. Where does he go next? I don't know if he stays in Paris. I think he moves around after this.
I hope so, because I feel like most of his life has been in Paris.
We have spent so much freaking time in Paris.
Yeah.
So
and last season we had so many different places all over the place.
Einstein was not a solitary man. He was
No.
constantly moving, didn't like to pick a country.
Yeah. Back and forth. Back and forth.
So we'll see where Picasso goes next week. We hope you'll join us. We wanted to, before we wrap out here, ask you guys, we are about a week behind on the show right now. It airs as we go on. Would you guys prefer that we catch up? That's something we can definitely look at. That would mean we'd have to switch to a different time slot here at the network. So leave your comments below on YouTube, or if you're over at iTunes, you can leave us a little message like, yes, I'm fine. This gives me time to catch up and watch. Or, no, I prefer to watch it and then come view you guys. We're here for you. Whatever you want, we'll try to find a solution. Until next week, Zach, where can the folks find you?
Hey guys, so my name is Zach Silverman. You can find me all across social media at Zach with a CH Silverman 2. And I'm also on The Flash later this evening at 10 o'clock.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina. You can find me on Instagram at Mina Makes Magic, and you can also catch me on the Rise After Show at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. Tonight is the finale. Make sure to tune in.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Love your thoughts on this show. I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique. If you head over to Nerdist right now, there is a documentary out about the impact of Black Panther. I was in there with my good friend Sabina. Check us out. Leave comments below. Let them know you like us. Also, if you're in Ontario, California, this weekend, the 19th and 20th, I have 4 panels this weekend at the Comic-Con. 2 Star Wars, 1 just on Thrawn. I'm almost done with the Thrawn book, and it's so good, guys.
He's still alive?
Then
He's alive, I think, right?
we will see.
I think he is.
I also have a panel with Jason Aaron talking about his Eisner Award-winning comic Scalped, and a Duckwing Revival panel. It's going to be so much fun. Please come join us. If you see me, say hi. Until next week, we have been Genius. We'll see you guys soon.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.